we're up against going into LSU here, and getting a head start on that, whether it be last week or yesterday. So we'll be back at it tomorrow morning, and got an exciting week. Preparing for a good football team. So one update, just with the timing of everything, with when we've met Cole Adams with his injury, just an update there. He'll be out for the year. So we had to deal with that.
I'll have more in a moment.
Producing championship quality lumber is not an easy process, but at Everwood Preserving, it's our only process. Wood treated right. Everwood offers top-notch pressure-treated wood for decks, outdoor structures, commercial jobs, and more that you can build your reputation on. When it comes to quality, we're on the winning team. Visit your local Everwood dealer today and discover the difference for yourself. Everwood Preserving Incorporated, the official lumber of the Alabama Crimson Tide.
Join us this afternoon for Crimson Drive, driven by NASCAR, streaming live at 2 p.m. Central on all CTSN social media platforms. Crimson Tide Today is brought to you by Everwood. Crimson Tide Today is a production of the Crimson Tide Sports Network from Learfield.
Welcome to Talkin' Ball with Scott Theisen and Drew DeArmond. Call into the Neighbors Wealth Management Hotline now, 256-576-4977. That's 256-576-4977. Now, here's Scott and Drew.
There you are. There you have it. We are off. We are running. We are back, and we are live. It's Talking Ball, 97.7 ESPN The Zone. Scott Theisen, Drew DeArmond. We are holding court until 9 a.m. this morning. 2 hours with you here on Talking Ball. And what a night it was. What a day it'll be. The college football playoff rankings came out last night. The top 25 were released. We'll run all those down for you. Whether you agree with them or not, we'll run down all top 25. And we'll hear from Rich Clark as well as Ward Manuel. Ward, of course, the athletic director at Michigan. We'll hear from him. Just a couple quick questions there with both of those guys. But it is Wednesday, and that can mean one thing and one thing only. We head out to our seventh grader prognosticator, Grady the Greek, with us on a Wednesday. Morning, Grady.
Morning.
How we doing today, bud?
Good. How are y'all?
We are doing fantastic. It is a beautiful start to the day. So last week, you got to enjoy the off week, although you did pick a game, but you got to enjoy the Alabama off week. Did you do anything entertaining during the off week?
I was just with my friends.
All right.
Did you go to Auburn, Grady?
No, I didn't.
Okay.
All right. So you've been saving it up. I'm sure you've put in the work. You've put in the thought as Alabama will travel to Baton Rouge on Saturday. It is number 11 versus number 15. Both teams come in with 2 losses. Whoever leaves town or stays in town with that third loss could be damaging for the playoffs. This is a de facto playoff game. Who do you got between Alabama and LSU?
Oh, first things first. MAGA!
It was a great night, Grady. I agree with you there. Amen, sir.
There we go. So who do we have between the games?
Well, it's gonna be a big game this week. We're gonna have to start out running the ball and run the ball throughout the game. But I'm gonna say Bama 27, LSU 23.
You're on the same wavelength I am. That's I've had 27, 24, 28, 24. So you're saying 27, 23, and you're saying Milroe MVP?
Yes, sir.
What do you want to see from Jalen Milroe? We talk about what we think Jalen Milroe should do more. What does Grady the Greek think Jalen Milroe should do more of?
Run the ball.
Say,
yeah,
it's simple. He doesn't sugarcoat
straight
it.
to the point.
Straight to the point. Run the ball. A lot of Alabama fans would agree with Grady the Greek. You picking just one game, buddy, or you got two today?
I'm just gonna pick one.
All right.
Well, we do have one other question for you. At least I do, because, well, of course, we talked about it. It was coming on right during the presidential election coverage last night. But what was your thoughts on Alabama being 11th in the college football playoff initial rankings, Grady? Was that too high, too low? What did you think about, or just right? What were your thoughts?
It was just right. Just right.
Win and you're in.
It's like the three little bears, right?
Yeah.
Too high, too low, or just right? All right, bud. Who are we going to give our shout-outs to this week?
Shout out to Trump.
Nice. Been raised right by the great Hunter
All right, Grady. You have a great day at school. Enjoy this one, bud.
Yes, sir.
Thank
Yeah.
you, sir. Yes, sir.
Grady the Greek, kind enough to join us, and he says 27-23, Alabama over LSU in Baton Rouge, which would leave the Tigers at 7-3, keep Alabama at 7-2, and keep them on track for bigger things down the line. Mark from Spring Hill is with us. Good morning, Mark.
Hey, good morning, guys.
Morning.
Hey, well, I thought Alabama would get in the top 12. They did. I think the reason they did is this committee, thank God, is looking at the big picture, looking at strength of schedule. As long as they keep doing that, they'll get the right 12 in. You beat Georgia, that helped them. That's why they're number 11. I mean, it's easy to see that. I think, of course, they win, keep winning, they're in. I haven't looked at the weather. I know, whether you play in the game, it goes both ways. I think, a rainy game helps Alabama personally. I think you got, kind of running backs Alabama has, Milroe, being able to throw the little short passes, the tight end passes, having Hollywood out there. I don't see this game as close at all. I think this is one of those games where Alabama comes out and it's like the old Alabama. I think we'll see a Georgia first half and a second half from Bama, and just have a really good feeling about this game. And I think it's going to be a signature win, even though we would say Georgia is or has been. I think it'll be a signature win for DeBoer, because I think he'll put together the best looking Alabama team we've seen so far.
Well,
so that's my take on it.
Well, his first bye week preparation was really good for Georgia. He was known for that at Washington. Hopefully, we'll see much of the same with Alabama going to Tuscaloosa, going to on the road like they were in Tuscaloosa against Georgia, like that. They're going to Red Stick and Baton Rouge this time, but hopefully we'll see that well-prepared Alabama team. I do think Milroe, I totally agree with Grady the Greek. He's got to use his legs.
Right.
He's got to get himself going that way. And then I hope that he can get into a rhythm early, throwing the football, maybe make an explosive play. His short and intermediate passing has always kind of been his weakness. He did do a good job against Georgia. Hopefully he can do a good job in this game. But I think getting him off to a good start with the run and then with what they script early and getting him in rhythm is going to be key. And then I think the defense needs to force some turnovers. They need to get pressure on Garrett Nussmeier because he's a gunslinger. They have the outside weapons that, in many ways, that I think their outside weapons are better than Georgia's. So, and their offensive line they're really good in pass protection. The run game hasn't been great. Alabama needs to have their best game in run defense. I mean, it's kind of like, Alabama's, I think, 14th in the SEC in rush defense, but LSU's dead last in running the ball. So whichever team performs better in that aspect, I think they're going to have a big time advantage. So hopefully Alabama's got a good game plan and they tackle well and they're in their gaps and they do a good job of run fits and make LSU one dimensional. Because if they do, I think they can get some turnovers from Nussmeier and crew.
As far as the weather goes, there should be a break between about 5:30 and 7 where they don't have rain. Now, it's expected to rain from around 2 until about 5:30. And then from about 5:30 to 7, maybe there's a window. But after 7, there is a chance the rest of the game could be played in the rain.
Well, and I was just going to mention the thing that I'm optimistic about is I know this is just one play. I don't know why I'm real big on this, but when, Womack, I'm one of the Bama fans who thinks Alabama has gotten better in the last 3 games, South Carolina in particular, and just seeing something different. They got fire in their belly. It's the first time I've seen them have that. They got that stop down there, shutout. There's not anybody going to shut out Missouri, but Alabama did. And so I don't know. I don't see LSU as some juggernaut. This is not the 2019 LSU team. So I don't know. Drew, I'll hang up and listen. Tell me why you think LSU's great, good enough to be that close to Alabama. I'll hang up.
For one, they've got a quarterback with 20 touchdown passes. I know he has 9 picks, but he's thrown for over 2,600 yards. They've got Kyron Lacey, who should be a high draft pick, who's got over 600 receiving yards. Aaron Anderson, former Alabama wide receiver, has got 600 receiving yards. They've got Mason Taylor, who made the play to beat Alabama 2 years ago at tight end, and then Caden Durham has had a good freshman year at running the football. Now, as a whole, they haven't run the ball well, but if Alabama, struggles to stop the run, which they have at times this year, then it's going to be a long night because you've got to make them one-dimensional. You got to make them left-handed. I mean, he's talking about the shutout over Missouri, but Missouri went without their starting quarterback for 2.5 quarters, and when he was in there, he wasn't 100%. They didn't have Nate Noel, their top tailback, who was averaging nearly 100 yards per game, so they didn't have some of their weapons. LSU should, and then LSU I think has a better offensive line than Missouri does, especially from a pass blocking standpoint. So they're gonna it'll be a staunch challenge. There's no doubt about it. So I just think overall, the LSU has a better offense than Missouri, in my opinion. Even though Missouri does have receivers, Theoes,
right,
Cooper and those guys, and of course Luther Burden, who are really good. But LSU's are just as talented, and you're playing on the road. That's another thing. That, I agree with Mark. It would definitely be a signature win for Kalen DeBoer, but he has to go out and do it. This coaching staff, as in their time at Alabama, has not won a road game in the SEC. So it would be a big accomplishment to do so.
When you look at the offenses as a whole, they're pretty similar as far as stats. LSU averages 480 or 448 yards per game offensively. Alabama comes in averaging 431 yards a contest per game. LSU has 922 rushing yards this season. Alabama has 1,421. Passing, though, LSU has passed for over, like you said, over 2,600 yards.
Right.
Alabama has passed for just over 2,000 yards. So LSU is getting theirs done through the air more. Alabama is getting theirs done more on the ground. So,
well, and Alabama is coming off of their best rushing performance. I mean, they did run the football well against a pretty good front from Missouri, and they were able to control it. Now, LSU's run defense has been a little spotty as well. I think they're 11th in the SEC in rush defense. So Alabama needs to take advantage of that. They need to continue this trend of the tailbacks being involved and doing a good job. And Scott, you've mentioned the rain already.
Yeah.
Well, if you got a wet track, you got to take care of the football first and foremost. And now we Kalen DeBoer, we heard him right before we came on the show from Roger Hoover, and we've heard from him earlier this week. Because he spoke on Monday, but you don't have Cole Adams, so you're going to have a different punt returner. And I think Cole's biggest strength as a punt returner was his ball security, because he doesn't fumble the football. Well, whether it's Jalen Mbakwe or Ryan Williams, catch it first and foremost, and then if you have a chance to make some plays, make some plays. But the weather situation is going to be really interesting. I mean, I don't really remember a year ago a game where there was a ton of rain that Alabama played in.
Right.
So how is Jalen Milroe going to handle throwing a wet football? Some quarterbacks can. Some, like John Elway, one of the greatest of all time, could not throw a wet football very well.
Right.
So it's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting to see how, Garrett Nussmeier reacts as well.
You mentioned rush defense through 8 games played. This is 8 games played. LSU is averaging giving up 130 yards on the ground. Alabama is averaging giving up 144 yards on the ground.
Yeah.
So both teams kind of getting 100 yards on the ground against either LSU or Alabama right now. I mean, Ole Miss, by the way, through 9 games is giving up just 82 yards on the ground. That's best in the league. Is LSU. Tennessee, 90 yards on the ground. Those are the only 2 teams in the SEC holding opponents below 100 yards per game on the ground.
Mm-hmm.
Texas is almost there, 105. Oklahoma's at 106. South Carolina's 107. Georgia is 108, and Auburn is 109. So those are your leaders there in rushing defense.
Mm-hmm.
All right, 7:14. Let's get a break in. When we come back, we will delve into the college football playoff rankings. Got to hear from Ward Manuel and Rich Clark. They talk Alabama, they talk Texas, they talk Georgia. We'll hear from all of them coming up next.
You're listening to Talkin' Ball on 97.7 ESPN, The Zone.
That wreck on 565 at Mooresville Road, that's mile marker 2, is backing east and westbound traffic up. Westbound's backed up to almost to Greenbrier. Eastbound's backed up to I-65. Working on getting that one clear. Parkway northbound at Lily Flag, maybe a couple more minutes. Had one in Morgan County and Hartselle, 36 eastbound at Sparkman, working on it. Had southbound Pulaski Pike at Sparkman reported with injury, but they canceled Himsey. And we just got one in Athens, 31 in Ingleside. Have you tried numerous weight loss plans and nothing seems to work? Hormones could be the problem. Find out with a free quiz at 2030huntsville.com. Captain Eck in the Valley Skywatch Traffic Center.
It all comes back to money.
Visit our store right now at zonedeals.bigdealsmedia.net to take advantage of all the best deals in the Tennessee Valley. Or just go to our website, 977espn.com, and click on the Zone Deals logo to start saving right now.
Now, as to the price.
These deals won't last long, so get yours now. Zone Deals. You'll thank us later.
A man who could easily afford to buy a vowel.
Hi, my name is Dan Aldridge. I'm here to let you know about the Aldridge Law Firm and the soon-to-be-announced Legal Town Center. I've been practicing law in Alabama since 1984, and I also practice in Tennessee. And I'm from North Alabama, and I'm here to represent you and take care of your legal needs. For many of us, hiring an attorney is not high on the priority list and maybe a little scary. But it's something that we all need at some point. So by all means, do your homework. And if you need representation for car accident, wrongful death, medical malpractice, nursing home abuse, or estate planning, or any other matter, just give us a call at 256-534-3188. And you can email me at Dan, that is Dan at danaldridgelaw.com. Dan at danaldridgelaw.com. God bless America.
No representation is made that the quality of legal services to be performed is greater than the quality of legal services performed by other lawyers.
Hi, folks. Bobby White back again for Woody Anderson Ford, inviting you to come test drive any one of our over 100 F-150s. From rock-solid, dependable work trucks to our state-of-the-art Platinum Series, we've got an F-150 for you. Test drive one today, and you'll understand why the F-150 is the best-selling truck in America, going on 48 years in a row. Just as successful offenses and defenses are built on teamwork, Woody Anderson Ford is powered by our people. Our sales and service teams are well-trained to save you time and money. And because we want your business again and again, no one will work harder to earn it. Our mobile service teams come to your home or business for oil changes, brake work, tire rotations, and more. And the great thing is you don't pay extra for it. We come to you with mobile service at no extra charge. Proud to be local, family-owned, and at your service for over 62 years. Woody Anderson Ford, Alabama's F-150 Superstore.
Ann Adams with Berkshire Hathaway Rise Real Estate is the one name to know if you're buying or selling real estate. With years of local experience, Ann Adams offers buyers in-depth knowledge of the local housing market and will narrow available properties down to those you'll be interested in so you can save time when shopping for your new home. If you're ready to sell, Ann offers a seamless process using accurate pricing and expert negotiation skills to make sure you get a fair price for your home. Call Ann Adams today at 256-337-2625 or log on bhhsriserealestate.com.
Follow the Tide right here. Hi, this is Chris Stewart of the Crimson Tide Sports Network. Your home of all things Bama is 97.7 ESPN The Zone. Roll Tide.
Bring 'em out, hey. Bring 'em out, yeah. Bring 'em out, hey. Bring 'em out.
That is exactly what happened to the college football playoff rankings last night. They brought them out, displayed the top 25. Your first, let's get this right here. The first of 5 top 25 rankings. We will not see a 12-team bracket until December 8th. That is the first time we will see a 12-team bracket. So your top 25 looks pretty much similar to the AP poll. Oregon number 1, Ohio State and Georgia are different in this one. Ohio State is 2, Georgia 3, Miami 4.
I don't really understand that, but that's just me.
Texas is 5, Penn State 6, and Tennessee 7. Indiana's 8, BYU is 9, Notre Dame is 10, Alabama checks in at number 11. Overall, there's 8 SEC teams in the top 25. Vanderbilt, by the way, is the only team ranked in the AP poll that is not ranked in the college football playoff top 25 rankings. Miami only has now 1 win against another team in the committee's rankings. That is number 22, Louisville. BYU has 2, number 13, SMU, and number 19, Kansas State. So those are some notables from within the poll.
Yeah, and right now, your top 4 seeds, because they'd be conference champions, would be Oregon. And I think most people have Georgia number 2. They'd be the 2 seed overall, and then you'd probably have BYU 3 and Miami 4. Even though I'm just talking about the schedule strength, because what you just pointed out. Because Miami hasn't really beaten anybody. Now, Miami could theoretically be the 3 and BYU the 4, but wouldn't make a whole lot of sense. I mean, if you looked at it like that. And again, Ohio State, because they wouldn't win the Big Ten, in theory, would probably be the 5th seed, because right now, even though they're number 2 overall in the rankings, they wouldn't be a conference champion. And then Notre Dame. Where does Notre Dame fit in? But right now, Notre Dame only has 1 loss, and it's to Northern Illinois. I do think
they can only be 5. That's
that's
high,
their ceiling.
That is their ceiling is number 5.
And they're not going to be number 5 right now. Now, could Notre Dame easily run the table right now? Yes, because USC looks awful. So I'm not going to be shocked at all if Notre Dame ends up 11-1 on an 11-game win streak, and they don't have to play a conference championship game because they're not in a friggin' conference. So that's why Scott's telling you, that their ceiling is 5.
That is as high as they can go. They'll be assured. If they're 5, they'll be assured a first-round home playoff game.
So in theory, what Scott's telling you is even if they had beaten Texas A&M and were 12-0. They still could only
be 5 because they do not play in a conference championship game. So therefore, they cannot be a conference champion. The highest thing that Notre Dame can be ever is number 5.
Yeah, crazy. Just crazy.
All right. So the College Football Playoff Committee did sit down with some media members afterwards and were asked a few questions. One of those questions was, well, here it is, and you can hear it for yourself.
I'm curious how much of a gap the committee views in terms of 2-loss Alabama compared to the other 2-loss teams in contention, especially in the SEC. Is it mostly based on strength of schedule? Is it for that Georgia win, or kind of what's the committee's view there?
Well, we obviously view them as the highest-ranked 2-loss team at this time, but you really touched on it. The home win over Georgia was impressive. What they just did against Missouri, at 24th ranked Missouri team. The loss to Vanderbilt on the road at Vanderbilt was something that we also looked at, as well as the road loss at Tennessee, but Tennessee's ranked number 7. But they're top 20 in scoring. Obviously, their defense is always solid, holding teams to less than 20 points per game. Those things impressed the committee. In balance, we felt it came out that they were ranked 11th.
That was how the committee felt about Alabama.
Yeah, I mean, and it makes a lot of sense. Like I've said, been saying, I mean, Alabama's win over Georgia is the best in the country right now. They need to stack though. And Vanderbilt having an outlier type of season. First of all, beating Alabama for the first time in 40 years, and then being bowl eligible with the chance to win even more football games has been significant. In other words, it wasn't just a fluke win where Vandy still ends up, 3-9, 4-8. They're certainly a good football team. And then Tennessee is thick in the college football playoff hunt, as they've only lost one game, and they're going to win big this weekend. I'm just going to go ahead and call that one, just like we just called this election last night and nice and early. But again, I think, the play in Mississippi State, we all understand Mississippi State's in a huge rebuild, so Tennessee should win that game. They do have a bad loss, to Arkansas, who's I think a mediocre football team, but they've handled business in every other game. And going forward, they'll have their chance, just like Ole Miss has their chance this weekend against Georgia to make a statement and get into the thick of this chase or be eliminated. Well, Tennessee, while I don't think it would eliminate them if they lose to Georgia, it should make a lot of people nervous because, there's going to be a logjam of 2 lost teams. But I will say this for Alabama, based on what the committee said yesterday and the feedback you get, then Alabama should be in really good shape if they win. If they win, then I think they're going to be in the playoff.
All right, so we talk a lot about strength of schedule and the committee. Now, does the committee look at strength of schedule? They were asked that yesterday in this little roundtable after the ratings come out. And they got to talking about the Georgia-Alabama game, the Ohio State-Oregon game. Do they look at the strength of schedule? We heard from Ward Manuel talking about Alabama. Here's Rich Clark talking about strength of schedule.
Yeah, thanks for the question and for recognizing my service. I do appreciate that. But we don't factor in conference strength. We look at each game individually, and that's what the commissioners do. They put that work in to watch those games and evaluate them on their own. And when I said that all wins and losses aren't created equally, what I meant was, sometimes let's just take the Ohio State loss to Oregon. It was 1 point on the road. That was an impressive game, and their performance was very strong against the number 1 team in our ranking, as compared to a loss by Georgia to Alabama. It was on the road, but it didn't have the same, I'd say, impressive-ness that the Ohio State loss did, because Alabama's ranked 11 in our poll. Now, both losses are still, it says something about the team, but they're just not the same, and the committee saw it that way.
There you go.
Stupidity. Probably voted for Joe. Oh, I'm sorry. Kamala, who now disappeared. But in all seriousness, look, I understand. One was a 1-point game where Ohio State was trying to set up for the winning field goal, screwed it up. We know what Dan Lanning did. They outsmarted the Ohio State basically by
outsmarted the college football rules.
Yeah, and made them change the rule in 1 week. Now, if that's in the SEC, they don't change the rule. That's why the SEC officiating is horrendous. They'd have just sat there with their thumbs up their ass, and they wouldn't have done anything. But they said, "Oh God, we got to change it. We got to change it. We got to. That's it. They can't do that anymore." But which is why Greg Sankey has to release a statement about faking injuries. Then you got jackasses like Lane Kiffin talking about, I wanted that changed the whole time, even though I faked 7 injuries a game. I mean, he's about as full of it as the Democratic Party. But anyway. But seriously, though,
yes.
I mean, I understand what they're saying to a degree, but I still think what Georgia did to Texas is significant. Has Ohio State done that to anybody? No. I mean, I know what they'll say. Well, they beat Penn State. Yeah, they held on for dear life against Penn State, who I think is severely overrated. I think Georgia would beat the piss out of Penn State. But, I mean, I think Texas would beat Penn State. But again, this will all play itself out. But
it will. Look, again, this is just the first of 5 of these top 25 rankings. We got a long way.
But some of that logic is just like makes your head hurt. It's like, what the hell are you watching, dude? You watched 15 seconds of it. You haven't been watching them all year. I mean,
all right, let's get a break in because coming up here in just a few
Italian
minutes,
food, and you sat there and watched it for an hour.
John Summerall's going to join us as we talk college football here in just a minute.
Hey, I can complain. They're not in the top 25.
Complain to him here in a minute.
You're listening to Talkin' Ball on 97.7 ESPN, The Zone.
From the Fox 54 Weather Center, I'm Chief Meteorologist Jordan Dressman. A partly sunny to mostly cloudy sky this afternoon. Temperatures have no problem climbing into the lower 80s. A couple of isolated showers are going to be possible across the Tennessee Valley, but there are going to be significant periods of dry time, and some of us could stay dry through the entirety of the afternoon, even as we head into the evening. Speaking of the evening, we only drop into the mid-upper 60s as we head into the overnight, early into your Thursday morning. Much the same Thursday afternoon, a partly sunny to mostly cloudy sky. Temperatures climbing into the mid and upper 70s. I'm Chief Meteorologist Jordan Dressman on your home for ESPN Radio, 97.7 ESPN, The Zone.
That wreck at Mooresville, 565, is affecting east and westbound traffic. Got traffic backed up westbound all the way back to Greenbrier. Got traffic backed up eastbound all the way back to I-65. And they're looking for a wreck now in there, 20 and I-65. They're trying to decide exactly where that one's at. It's coming in as a no injury. 31 and Ingleside in Athens reported as a no injury. Pulaski, Pike, and Sparkman reported with injuries, but they have canceled Hemsey. Parkway and Lily flags should be cleared up. Don't let the cooler temps catch you without heat. D&L Refrigeration can check your system before it's too late with discounts for military, law enforcement, and seniors. D&L 256-652-1207. State license 08091. Captain Nick in the Valley Skywatch Traffic Center.
If hunting and outdoor recreation are your passions, it all starts with the right property. That's where I come in. I am Bo Butler with Southland Realty and Auction, a hunting and recreational land specialist and a Jackson County native who sees land through a hunter's eyes. Just as you trust your guide on a big game hunt, you can trust me to find the perfect property for you. Thinking of selling? Let me help you make your land attract buyers. Remember, Bo knows land. Call me at 256-609-0512.
All right, welcome back. 7:31 on a Wednesday morning. It's been a fun 30 minutes so far, and it's about to get even better. It's been a minute since we have caught up to our next guest, but boy, oh boy, is he rising up in the college football ranks. The last time we talked to him, he was guiding Troy University, and he did so to a 23-4 record, 2 Sun Belt Conference championships, a pair of double-digit winning streaks, Sun Belt Conference Coach of the Year twice, named a finalist for the Eddie Robinson Coach of the Year. But he packed up those bags and went to the Big Easy, and now he's got Tulane cooking as well.
Nobody is shocked by that. They're 7-2 going into this game this weekend, as they will have homecoming against the Temple Owls. We're excited about that. They're coming off of a win on ESPN last week against Charlotte. It was super impressive, a 34-3 beat down on the road. And right now, they're not in the top 25 college football playoff rankings. I'm complaining about that already, so I can stump. I'm stumping. But certainly we know that the Tulane Green Wave are one of the best group of 5 teams in the country, and we're biased because we think this is one of the best college football coaches in America. Former Grissom Tiger, current head football coach of the Tulane Green Wave in year 1, and that's John Summerall. Coach, good morning. Welcome back to Huntsville.
Hey, Scott, Drew, appreciate you guys having me. I need y'all to walk around with me and just do all my introductions, man.
Yeah.
Big time.
I'd love to be the hype guy.
We could get it going. But you've
no doubt.
You've done a good job though of hyping it and getting Tulane going in the right direction yourself this year.
Yeah, well, it's credit to our staff and our team. You know, we got a tremendous group of young men on our roster, man. This really, when I got here in December, you know, this day and age in college football, the transfer portal, this roster was it was a lot of guys facing uncertainty, didn't know what the change was going to look like. And we lost 7 defensive starters off of last year's team and, you know, several offensive starters, including Michael Pratt, who's been the starting quarterback here for forever, it feels like. And really, it's been fun to see a lot of fresh faces, new guys step up. We got a redshirt freshman starting at quarterback, who kind of came out of nowhere and won the job. And like I said, a bunch of new defensive starters. But it's really been fun to watch this come together. The culture of our locker room, our team is unbelievable. The guys practice extremely hard. They care about each other. And it's fun coming to work every day. I can promise you that.
Well, there's no question. And one of my favorite things was going back on YouTube and social media and watching the culture be built via the documentary about your program as you kind of set the tone with your staff of building relationships with these players. In other words, it's personal, not transactional. And you guys got a lot of buy-in, and there was a lot of toughness put in place in your off season preparing for this journey, Coach.
Yeah, there's no doubt. One of our core values is toughness. We got 4 core values in this program: attitude, toughness, discipline, and love. And the toughest component, I think, travels. It's non-negotiable. I mean, tough teams win. Soft teams don't. You train that way. You don't just all of a sudden decide to be tough one day. You have to prepare that way, train that way, work that way. We're all born as babies, and naturally we're soft, you know. And so you've got to make yourself tough, and that's how you prepare each day. And then the other piece you hit on, like on our documentary series. And the thing that I think this team has started to really grow in is their genuine love and care about each other. And we talk all the time, this program loves an action, not a feeling. A call to love somebody means you have to know them. And in this age of, you know, we got 60 new players that have 120 on our roster. Half our team's brand new. And so in the age that we live in now, it's so vital. It's so important, man, through the spring, through the summer, through training camp, that you really connect to your teammates and you get to know each other past just the playing field. Because I'm a firm believer that, you know, if you really know who you're fighting for, it doesn't matter who you're fighting against. Like for us in our building all the time, I'm worried about our guys caring about each other and wanting to play for each other, wanting to have each other's back. And if we're doing that the right way, who the opponents are don't matter.
When you walked in and you looked like, and you looked at the roster and you were like, man, we got to fill some spots and we got to fill it in a hurry. Did it seem kind of overwhelming? I mean, you mentioned 60 new guys on a roster, Coach. That's a lot.
Yes, it's a lot, Scott. And I'll tell you, the thing I did at the time, like I thought was the right thing to do, it might have been the dumbest thing I've ever done. I left my entire staff at Troy to coach in the bowl game. And so when I took this job, I was basically here for a month on my own. I brought one guy that worked for me in recruiting at Troy immediately. But other than that, all the coaches I left through the bowl game. What's been really neat, too, is just kind of seeing how the staff was put together first, because really, you know, there were 6 or 7 guys on the previous staff here that I knew of or knew really well, a handful of them. And so there's 7 guys that are coaches that were here last year that are still here, that didn't leave. And then the staff at Troy, a lot of those guys ended up coming after the bowl game. But really for a while, you know, the 2 transfer portal window is still in existence for at least one more year. Without the second portal window, we'd be lost. And so what I mean by that is the first window, we addressed a lot of our offensive needs.
Yeah.
We brought in Mario Williams at receiver. We brought in some guys that were playmakers, and that really reinforced some of our things offensively. We get through spring ball, and I didn't quite realize or grasp how thin we were on defense until we went through spring ball. Well, there's 5 guys that started game 1 that showed up here on Memorial Day. And so the roster building piece, you're never really done. People always say, like, do you have room? And I'm like, yeah, I always got room for a difference maker, and so that fits our culture. And so it was chaotic. It was daunting. Man, there were times I was overwhelmed. I'm like, I just had to stop and go, it's going to work itself out. But, the way that I'm wired, I'm always thinking about the roster, and like in a sick way while I'm in the moment of this year's team and the run we're on, my mind's already on, like, all right, how do we build for 25? How do we build for 26 to make sure that we're staying ahead? Because if you think you can just keep showing up and things are going to go good without having a plan, you'll be behind real fast. And we're going to lose a lot of good players off this year's team. So every year now, I think in college sports, college football in particular, you have culture norms and values that were within the program that are the standards that the program, everybody has to meet. But you're building a new team every year.
And we're talking to John Summerall, head football coach, former Grissom Tiger of the Tulane Green Wave, 7-2 right now, undefeated in the American Athletic Conference. Coach, tell us about this young quarterback that when we talked to you in the offseason, you were excited about Ty Thompson. You'd had him in for a visit. You brought him in from Oregon, a high-profile portal addition. But then this kid, all of a sudden, I was kind of following this process when you were preparing for your season. He just sort of took the bull by the horns. Very poised young man, as you said, redshirt freshman from St. Louis Obispo, California. Talk about how Mensa kind of took this team, and I've watched him play. Very, very poised guy, just a low blood pressure quarterback who makes plays when he has to. I mean, he's been quite a story for you. That it's kind of neat, even in this portal era. Guys can step up and kind of come out of nowhere, like you already told us.
Yeah, Drew, it is kind of wild. So got the job, and obviously Michael Pratt was moving on,
right,
to go to the NFL, and so knew we had a quarterback competition at minimum that we needed to kind of figure out what it was going to look like, and had one returner that had played some snaps here, a really good young man named Kai Horton, who was in that competition, who's still on our team.
Mm-hmm.
And then went out and got Ty Thompson, the transfer portal, which was a big deal. I mean, it was kind of like it was us and TCU at the end. And so getting Ty here was a big deal. But I'll never forget, I had a conversation with Michael Pratt, and Pratt said, Coach, that when I first got here, I said, hey, tell me, y'all went from 2-10 to the Cotton Bowl. Tell me how that happened, and I just wanted to hear kind of what he saw in the program. And then I said, hey, talk about the quarterback room. And he really lit up when he talked about Darian Mensa, and the young man that's our starter right now. He goes, Coach, this Mensa kid's got something. He's like, and I didn't even know who the kid was at the time. Like, I had just been here for a couple of days. I'm like, who's Mensa? Nobody told me about him. Well, he was a true freshman last year who didn't play one snap in a game. And as we went through summer, the spring practice, summer workouts, he kept flashing. He kept catching my eye. He kept elevating. But in my mind, I went into training camp really thinking it was a 2-guy race, and he wasn't one of those 2. And we went through the first 8 days of training camp, and it was just glaring to me that he had the ability to be a force multiplier and positively affect other people around him. He's got a little bit of that moxie leadership you want in your quarterback. He's got a good arm. I'm not going to sit here and act like he's got the biggest arm in the country. He runs okay. He's not the fastest guy in the country. But, man, what he does, he anticipates throws. He sees the windows. He communicates with confidence. He's a leader. He's got just a little something about him that guys want to go play for him. And, he never played a college snap to this year. I mean, not one. And won the job, won it outright. I'm a firm believer in life. You get what you earn. Nobody's going to give you anything. Well, he earned it. I didn't name him the starting quarterback. He took the job, and I tell people all the time, coaches don't name starters. Players decide who the starters are. And so, how they prepare and how they practice and how they affect other people around them. And so Darian's been really fun to watch. He has still got a long way to go. He's by no means a finished product. He knows that, but he's really played really quality football. I've been most proud of him, to be quite honest with you, for how he's protected the football in our last 5 or 6 games. He's really taken care of the football. And so at quarterback, sometimes that's the most important piece. Is it's not always the throws you make is some of the ones you don't make that maybe a guy would do something silly on. And so he's taken care of football and played really quality winning football for us and been a great leader as well.
Tulane head football coach John Summerall, kind enough to be with us this morning. Coach, you got 3 games left in the season. It's flown by. 2 of those next 3 are at home. You got Temple this weekend, Navy, followed by Memphis. You've put your team has put themselves in good position to get to the AAC championship game. Winning out would put you in that title game.
Yeah, we just got to focus on each day, and I'm not trying to give you coach speak.
No, I know.
It's nice to be in control of our own destiny. We don't need anybody's help, and that's a big positive for us. I am so focused. Like, I get questions all the time about things that are far out, way down the line. I'm like, man, I just want to have a great Wednesday, man. And if we have a great Wednesday and a great Thursday and a great Friday, then we've earned the opportunity to go have a great Saturday. If we don't have a great Wednesday, then we're limiting what we can do Saturday. But it is fun to know that, man, we have everything to play for right in front of us. We got the keys to the car. It's our decision what we do with it. Do we go put the keys in the ignition and drive the car and push the gas, or do we kind of coast? And so it's our decision to how we approach each day. But I'm excited that we are where we are. There's probably about 20 teams in college football that can say what we can say in our conference and say we're completely in control of what we get from here on out. And that's special. But man, I am so on guard and so on edge just about complacency and human nature with not just the young men we coach, but coaches, man. Everybody, it's natural to relax. And so I'm probably no fun to be around some days because everybody wants to talk about all the great stuff going on. I'm like, I see all the warts. so I'm always focused on what we got to get better at.
Well, that's a perfect segue here, Coach. You had 60-plus new guys. You told us that. As you said, a handful of defensive starters showed up, after spring practice, because you realized how much you had some depth concerns and then you needed more dudes on that side of the ball, which is your specialty. But as now we're 9 games in, this regular season has kind of flown by. What aspect of your team have you been the most pleased with as far as improvement goes from game 1 now to this point before you play Temple for homecoming?
Yeah, I would really say our defense. When we got our first game of the year, we had a shutout. It was against Southeastern Louisiana, an FCS opponent. And then on defense, we gave up 27 points to Kansas State. They scored 34 in that game, but one of them was a scoop and score by their defense. And then we went to Oklahoma, and we really played really poor in the first half. And then we played Louisiana Lafayette on the road, and we didn't play great. We found a way to win. But the first 4 games we played defensively, I was not pleased. And then the last 5 games defensively, once we got into conference play, we gave up 10 points to South Florida, which is a really explosive offense. I mean, we held South Florida to 26 yards rushing. They ran for 206 on Alabama. All right. And so that's when I started to feel like, okay, maybe this defense is coming together. And then we went to UAB and had a big win from a scoreboard standpoint. Gave up 10 points to Rice. Gave up 3 to Charlotte. So like now that we've gotten in conference play and our defense has sort of become more cohesive, I've been really pleased. I've also been pleased with how we've run the football. We're running the football with a lot of success, controlling the flow of the game. And we've been able to hit some shots off our run actions. So those are the things that have been really good. We still got a lot to clean up, but man, our defense has improved a ton because at the beginning of the year, the way our defense is performing, I was like, if we win 6 games the way they were playing it early in the year, I think this would be a successful year. But they really kicked it in gear and taken ownership. Our players have taken ownership. I say it all the time. Good teams can be coach-led. Great teams have to be player-led. Our player leadership, man, those guys have owned maybe leading what we're doing on defense, and he's gotten a lot better on that side.
Yeah, and then we know how good the staff you've put together on the field. But Scott was kind of mentioning before we brought you on, it's so important now that these are organizations in college football, especially with how transactional rosters are in recruiting. Tell us about the couple of keys to your staff, your chief of staff, Byron Ellis, and then your general manager. Everybody's got a general manager now, Cole Hurd. Yeah, we were talking about that.
Yep. Yeah, well, Byron, the chief of staff title, he's been an operations guy. He's been everything. He worked for the Saints for years. He's been everywhere. And so Byron's kind of the one that all the issues flow to him. You know what I mean? So good, bad, ugly, he gets all of it, and he kind of puts it, he encapsulates it for me so I can digest it because I don't have time to take on every issue that comes up. And so Byron sort of just manages the flow of how everything works in an organization for me that's not between the white lines, and brings those things up to me as we need to discuss them. And then Cole was with at Jacksonville State with John Gross. Cole was at Central Florida with Gus. And then I was able to hire Cole away from Central Florida when I was at Troy. He's actually an Alabama guy. He's from over in the Oxford area. And so Cole, really helps me oversee the roster management component, and just numbers, progress towards degree, when's the guy graduate, all the things that go on. The one thing that people don't recognize sometimes in the world that we live in is like Tulane is really a high academic school.
Yes.
And so for us, I can't just go out and recruit just anybody. It's got to be the right fit. It's got to be a guy that really, I'm not saying they got to be a Rhodes Scholar, but you got to care about going to class, and you got to care about what the degree means here, because it's not just a cakewalk. And so Cole helps me manage the roster numbers, helps me manage the transfer portal, all those things, big picture wise. And underneath Cole, I've got an offensive recruiting specialist and a defensive recruiting specialist. So two guys that really kind of handle their side of the ball with that staff. And they bring everything to Cole, and then Cole kind of brings it to me and me and him sit down and make, the tough decisions about our roster. And so it has become such a bigger enterprise for sure. I even in, at Troy, the staff size for us was a lot smaller, but here the resourcing is different. And so the demands are a little bit different, to be quite honest with you. And so I need a little bit more help, and having those guys makes my job a lot easier so I can focus on how do we win football games, to be quite honest.
Well, the real question is, did you go see Taylor Swift when she was there last week in New Orleans? Because that was just bananas.
Yeah, it was. So, we were on the road that Saturday at North Texas. She played Friday, Saturday, Sunday. The conference gave us a road game because they knew that the city wasn't big enough for us and Taylor Swift. But so my wife and my three daughters, they went Sunday night.
Oh, there you go.
And my son on the Sunday night show, my son came to football practice with me, and he worked with me. And so he's 11 and he's playing on his middle school football team.
Yeah.
And my daughters went with my wife to the show and had a blast. I got a bunch of videos for it, but I did not go. We had just gotten back from North Texas that Saturday evening. And that was the short week. We played Charlotte on Thursday, so there was no available time for me to sneak away and catch Taylor Swift.
Well, and we also have people that love you and follow you so closely. And we had somebody text in and said during said game last week on television against Charlotte that John, who was a tight end and linebacker,
yes, I
made
saw
a hell of a
this.
catch on an overthrown ball. Got
I
his
saw
own team
that.
off the wall, hyped up. John had a flashback there and showed him his talent.
Coach, you were smooth catching that ball.
There you go.
Hey, I still got it. I don't know if I can run, but I can. But if that ball's near me, I'll catch it.
No question about it. Well, 3:00 coming up, Temple homecoming. It's going to be on ESPNU. The Tulane Green Wave looking to go 8-2 and continue their climb up the college football ladder. Coach, man, we love you. We love what you're doing. We love what you're about. We're going to continue to be Green Wave supporters here in the Rocket City. But, man, thanks for the time. And I know your schedule's really busy, but continued success, sir.
Yes, thank you.
No, thank y'all. Always good catching up. I appreciate y'all.
Thank you. John Summerall, Tulane head football coach, kind enough to join us, man. Gosh, that was so good.
Yeah,
that was
great.
so good. Makes me want to play. I mean, I'd be like, man, let's go. Let's get down.
I was telling stories about John last week, just as we were wrapping up Huntsville High's football season, just telling them about John. And, his journey and being at Grissom High School, playing for Ronnie Massey, Grissom going to the semifinals while he was there, one of the best, if not the best team in school history, at least in the top 2 to 3, and then him running the steps at Lewis Cruz all the time, and his journey as a player and now as a coach. It's been amazing.
Well, 2 years ago, he was inducted into the Huntsville-Madison County Athletic Hall of Fame.
Yep.
So congratulations to him on all that. Let's get a break in, wrap up hour 1 next.
You're listening to Talkin' Ball on 97.7 ESPN, The Zone.
Still got east and westbound backup on 565 because of a wreck at Mooresville Road. It looks like eastbound may be moving a little better, but westbound is still backed up past Greenbrier. Got a couple of wrecks in there, too, around 20 and I-65. Decatur PD's trying to sort those out. Got one at 31 in Ingleside in Athens. Got one 36 in Sparkman, eastbound blockage in Hartselle. Got one Parkway northbound at Lily Flag that should be clearing. And we had Pulaski Pike and Sparkman that reported with injury, but they canceled Himsey on that one. Shoal Scholar Dollars Legends in Concert Series is bringing Grammy Award winner Kathy Mattea to UNA. Tickets for the November 24th gathering are available at shoalscholardollars.com. Captain Eck in the Valley Skywatch Traffic Center.
The company is Eagle Masonry and Insulation, but did you know they're also Eagle Landscaping and Dirt Work? Eagle can take care of all your landscaping needs, including irrigation, sod work, and planting, both plants and trees. On the dirt work side, Eagle can grade and build your pads, haul dirt in or out, and even do erosion control. Philip Love and his team can do it all for you. The website is the same, insulatewitheagle.com, as is the phone number, 256-755-1556. Give them a call and see what Eagle can do for you. Eagle saves you time. Eagle saves you money.
Hey folks, Bobby White back again for Woody Anderson Ford. If you're in the market for a new ride, now is the time to make your move. We've got over 700 new Fords to choose from, and with over 2,700 Google reviews, our customers have spoken, giving us a pretty impressive 4.4 out of 5 stars. Believe me, we work hard every day to earn those 5 stars. Just tell us what you need. This month only, we're offering big savings on your favorite Ford models. You can save up to $10,000 off MSRP on a 2024 F-150 Super Crew pickup. Or take $9,500 off MSRP on a 2024 Edge all-wheel drive. And if you're looking for something even bigger, take a spin in our 2024 family-size Expedition, available for $11,000 off MSRP. Deals end November 30th. And with always, it's with your good credit. Stop by Woody Anderson Ford today or visit us online at WoodyAndersonFord.com. With deals this good, you don't want to wait. I'm Bobby White, and we hope to see you soon.
Keep the heads ringing.
Oh, so many things you could say about that song as people wake up this morning. So many things. I'm talking about the college football playoff rankings.
Yeah.
That's what I'm talking about. The rankings, not the brackets, the rankings. There are no brackets right now.
Yeah, they're rankings.
Yes, rankings. They are not brackets.
Now, there's a lot of mock brackets out there.
Yes.
But the yesterday was just the rankings,
Just
1 through 25.
rankings.
Unfortunately,
No
our
brackets.
good friend John Summerall, Tulane Green Wave, due to 2 early season, what at the time were top 25 losses, they're not in that bracket right now, or
Well,
in a bracket, or in the rankings.
And you could say the Kansas State game. I mean, we didn't want to get this. We didn't want to get into this.
They were
with
leading
him.
that game.
They were leading it, but the referees in the end called an illegal pick play in the end zone on Tulane that prevented a touchdown. And John had some things to say about that after the game. And he said some things about it. We weren't going to get into that with him here this morning about it. But, I mean, they had Kansas State at home and could have beaten Kansas State at home. And that would have been huge for Tulane.
It would have been huge early, and they probably would be in the rankings right now, even with the loss to Oklahoma. Whereas he said they played a poor first half, but really played the Sooners tough in the second half. And I watched the end of some of that game, and the end of their schedule after Temple they play two good teams. They're at Navy, which is a tough road trip, even though we know Navy got whacked by Notre Dame. And then Memphis, though Memphis is coming off of a bad loss, but Memphis is 7-2. And so you're trying to get to the AAC championship game. So they're going to play a couple of quality opponents after, and John, I don't think this is right, boys. They whack the Temple Owls on Saturday.
I believe they do.
Yes. I'm calling that one.
Yes, I think they should.
About as early as last night.
It's Temple, Navy, and Memphis, the final three for Tulane. All right, that's hour one in the books for us. Eli Stapler going to join us coming up at the top of the hour in just a jiffy.
Third generation that we've had on the show.
97.7 ESPN The Zone.
This is Brent Musburger's VSiN Action Update on 97.7 ESPN The Zone. This action update is brought to you by GBank. Earn cashback rewards on every eligible gaming transaction. VSiN.com/GBank.
Oregon, Ohio State, Georgia, and Miami top the list. First college football playoff rankings of the year, followed by Texas, Penn State, Tennessee, Indiana, BYU, and Notre Dame. Alabama and Boise State finish off the 12-team bracket. SMU, Texas A&M, and LSU right on the bubble. Under the new college football playoff format, the top four seeds must be conference champions. The Buckeyes are the current betting favorite to win the national title at plus 325. Georgia and Oregon plus 400. The Texas Longhorns plus 500. Alabama plus 1,800. Tennessee plus 2,000. Notre Dame plus 2,500. Indiana plus 3,000. That's the VSiN Action Update on 97.7 ESPN The Zone. I'm Chuck Sanders.
WCZN, Union Grove, Huntsville, Alabama. 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
SportsMed is the official team physicians of the Rocket City Trash Pandas. And if the pros trust SportsMed, you can too. SportsMed provides every service you might need for complete orthopedic care, specializing in orthopedic surgery, sports medicine, joint replacement, spine surgery, neurosurgery, and podiatry. And they offer their own brace shop, in-house full-body MRI, physical therapy, walk-in clinic, and so much more. 4 locations and on the web at sportsmedalabama.com.
This hour brought to you by SportsMed Orthopedic and Spine Center. Online at sportsmedalabama.com. Welcome to Talkin' Ball with Scott Tyson and Drew DeArmond. Call into the Neighbors Wealth Management Hotline now, 256-576-4977. That's 256-576-4977. Now, here's Scott and Drew.
Welcome back, Talking Ball, 97.7 ESPN The Zone. A huge thank you to SportsMed Orthopedic Surgery and Spine Center, dedicated to providing care that improves lives. The official training providers for the UAH Chargers, which, by the way, coming up in a little over 48 hours, 1 o'clock on Friday, the UAH Chargers will be in action, and we're going to be taking the court down in Montevallo on Friday, and then 4:30 on Saturday, and then turn around and play again on Tuesday inside Spraggins Hall. So it's 3 games, 4 days, or whatever you want to call it. But big thanks to SportsMed Orthopedic Surgery and Spine Center for helping them get ready and us kick off hour number 2 of Talking Ball.
Yeah, we've been previewing the Huntsville Crimson Panthers. We're very happy and honored to be the home of the Crimson Panthers here on 97.7 The Zone. And they have a very special group of young men who have played together since they basically were in 5th grade. They've grown up together. This is a special group that went to the Final Four a year ago, went 32-3, won their first Huntsville City Classic since 1985. Won every tournament they played in except for the final one. Even though they did reach the Final Four for the first time in school history. They've got a lot of expectations this year, but I think they're very excited to play with one another. And, of course, we have a great relationship with the Stapler family. As we know, Coach Ronnie Stapler, avid listener to the show, texts in all the time. We've had him on the show many times. A Hall of Fame coach, won 3 state championships, won over 800 games. And then Scott Stapler, former, city athletic director here, now over Parks and Recreation, one of the best players to come through Huntsville himself, coached on the college level, and now is still a big part of our community. And now a third generation has joined the show this morning. He's the starting point guard for the Huntsville Crimson Panthers. Really been a 3-year starter, been a stalwart in this program for Huntsville, and his development has been just really fun to watch as he has matured. And now he's made his college decision. We're going to talk about that as well. But Eli Stapler has been kind enough to join us on the Neighbors Wealth Management Hotline this morning to continue to talk Huntsville High basketball and his decision to stay in the Gulf South Conference. But Eli, good morning. How are you?
I'm doing good. How are y'all?
We're doing
good. Doing good. Hey, you're all. We mentioned UAH 48 hours away. You guys are a little over 24 hours away.
Yep.
From kicking off the new year.
Yes, sir. I'm so excited to get going.
Well, and talk about your journey so far, Eli. I mean, you've been a guy that's gotten you're such a gym rat. You work on your craft so much. I mean, I don't know how many times I've been in the gym at Huntsville High, and you and JD Gossett are by yourselves working on fundamentals, working on your game. This is such a high IQ basketball team, not just as players, but off the court as well. Your academics are outstanding. We've already talked to Josh Bowman. We've already talked to Braden Rivers and of course, Simon Walker when he committed. I mean, but this is a special group that is so well-rounded.
Oh, yeah, no doubt. It definitely helps having a team with such high talent who constantly wants to get better, and that definitely pushes me to get better as well. And then also, like you said before, I have a granddad and a dad who have been through it, and they're always pushing me to be my best self. So every day I'm trying to look to get better in some way, and then hopefully the results will show.
No question about it. And then you've even had to overcome your own adversity. This happened really during the off season a couple of years ago, but you had a labrum situation. You got injured and you had to come back from that. And you even kind of took a fall or took a hit to it this past summer. I mean, how did that kind of help you become tougher and learn how to deal with adversity when you got injured like that?
Yeah, for sure. So when I tore my labrum, it took me out, and it definitely helped me refocus and put things into perspective and how short basketball really is. But it definitely made me want to come back harder and come back faster because high school basketball is fleeting, and it's and those are some of the best memories of your life. So when I tore my labrum, it definitely put things into perspective for me and showed me what was really important, and it made me want to come back faster and better than before.
Yeah, and how do you feel now? I mean, obviously you feel good now out there, but do you play with any kind of apprehension, or is it? I mean, are you fully just all good to go?
I'm full go. I've had some really good PT trainers and some doctors who were with me through that process, and they definitely reassured me and strengthened my labrum back to where it was fully go. So I'm full go.
Well, and Eli, I know with your family and how much basketball means to them, it meant a lot to you. I mentioned it to you after you guys were able to hoist the trophy at the Huntsville City Classic, and that just a tremendous basketball game with Austin. And by the way, that bracket came out this week, and ironically, Huntsville in the first round will have a rematch of that tremendous 1-point win over Austin. But you kind of made some history in your own right because I think, as far as I know, it's the first time 3 generations have now won the tournament. Of course, your grandfather won it multiple times. Scott won it as a player, and now you have. That was a pretty cool little moment and tidbit last year for you to celebrate with your team.
Oh, yeah. It definitely doesn't happen a lot where 3 generations of a family can win the same tournament. So that was something that was really special to me. I remember after the game last year when we had won, both my dad and my granddad came up to me and just embraced me with a hug. And it was something that I'll never forget because, like you said, it was something that was really special and doesn't happen a lot.
Obviously, the main goal for this team is unfinished business, and that is finishing it off with a 7A title. But when you sit down and you start listing some of those other team goals, I mean, last year it was, hey, we got to get the Huntsville City Classic, something Huntsville High had not done in years. I mean, there were other little boxes to check. Well, you checked a lot of those boxes off last year. What are some of those boxes other than winning a state championship that you look at as a team this year and say, hey, let's try to check this off as well?
Yeah, so for sure we have the big one, winning the state title, but also like there's small ones like last year we won every tournament we were in except for that last one. So hopefully we can repeat that and do that again, and then obviously like want to make history again where we maybe win more games than we won last year and set another school record, which would be awesome to do as a senior. But ultimately it's just about maxing out our potential and being the best we can possibly be when the games get really important towards the end. But definitely have a lot of stuff to look forward to this year and a lot of goals to reach. And I think we have a team with a lot of talent this year who can definitely do it.
And I know you've been around Coach Weir since you were in 5th grade. You've come up through the program. You were, the player of the year when you were at Hampton Cove Middle School in the middle school program. So you're used to the fabric in the city, but how has it been for you? And how have you what did you learn from, kind of previous guards? Because point guard is such an important part of Coach Weir's program. You got a chance to see Messiah Morris go to the college level, be a really good player at Huntsville. Jamari Arnold, man, not in North Georgia, a redshirt freshman. You've been around Luke Guy. You've been around some great leaders. Kind of how did they influence you, and how have they kind of helped mold you into what you guys are? You're one of the leaders of this team now as well.
Yeah, for sure. So it's definitely been great, or it was great for me to have mentors like Jamari Arnold and Messiah to look forward to, because every day when I was a freshman and I was a sophomore, they were pushing me and challenging me to look to compete and play harder. So having those guys just to be in my ear every day and push me and constantly challenge me was something that I will never regret, and something that I'm forever thankful for. And then, like you said, this year is my turn, so just being more vocal and talking to my teammates and making sure they feel like they have a voice, and then also just doing what Man and Messiah did to me and just pushing them in practice. So, when I'm gone next year, then they'll be able to fill my shoes and keep the program and tradition going with the Panther hoops.
You've had a big off season. You big off season. We know, and there's some people out there that may not know, but you did make your future college plans known just here recently. Let everybody know where you're going and how that decision came down to be where you're going to be.
Yeah, so next year I'm going to be playing at the University of Lee in the Gulf South, and I think I ultimately chose Lee because it was a really good fit for me basketball-wise, but also academically. Basketball-wise, they have a really good style of play. They play fast, and that's something that really fits how I like to play. When I went on my visit, I really liked the guys on the team and the coaches. They definitely made me feel like I was a part of something bigger than myself, which is something that I really look for in a college program. And then Lee Universities they're like a perennial NCAA tournament team. They're always there. And then the coaches believe that, if I continue to work hard and stay on this trend of getting better, that I have a really good opportunity to play as a freshman when I get there next year.
And with a 4.2 GPA, 33 ACT, you like your other teammates that we've all featured this week, a very academic high achiever. And I know, having your major, that was also a big part of what you want to do, like after basketball with the education at Lee University.
Oh, yeah, no doubt. So when I went on my visit, I got to meet I got to meet the dean of the school, and then I met with some of their medical school advisors, and they had really good numbers and rates for getting athletes into medical school. And I actually heard that Lee University, besides the University of Tennessee, Lee had the greatest number of getting students into med school, which was something that was really like a factor when I made my decision, for sure.
So between now and then, I mean, you got a lot of basketball to be played. How do you want to take that next step? I mean, high school to college is a big leap. I know you got a lot of games on the high school level, but how do you want to grow as a player this next year?
One of the big things that I really want to do is become more vocal and be able to hold teammates accountable, because I feel like that's something that a lot of coaches look for in a point guard especially. So that's one of the big things, and just getting stronger and getting used to the speed of the game at the next level will be something that will be two big factors for me when I move on.
Well, and how excited are you? I mean, Josh was and Braden both told us that they were going to have trouble sleeping. Obviously, Scott mentioned it already. Less than just a little over 24 hours away before we have probably a capacity crowd over at Huntsville High. It's a high-level opponent. It's a Bob Jones team that I know Eyeball Radio, Hoop Scene, both having the top 10 in the state. And Coach Bryant Starkey does a great job. But talk about being anxious and being able to go out there and finally. I know you guys played well on Saturday at the officials clinic over at Buckhorn against Westminster, and of course Mae Jemison and your old coach Pete Miller. But talk about how excited you are to get this started for real coming up on Thursday at 7:30.
Man, I've been looking forward to this day. I've been looking forward to tomorrow ever since we lost last year against Enterprise. So I think, like Braden and Josh said, I won't be able to sleep tonight. I'm so ready to go already. I can't wait. Bob Jones is a really good team, and it should be an awesome game tomorrow.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a great atmosphere. Certainly, from what Coach Weirs was telling me, I think floor seats are sold out. The student section is going to be packed. They've created one of the best student sections in the state of Alabama, no doubt about it. And then, of course, Eli, you talked about getting ready for the college level. This schedule as a whole, as you know, with Coach Weirs, very, very challenging. The Huntsville City Classic field, they did a Power 10, Scott, avail.com, of the preseason ranked top 10 teams, regardless of class. 5 of them, counting Huntsville High, are going to be in the field at the Huntsville City Classic. So, but just talk about the challenge of the schedule. And last year it was very difficult and daunting, but once again, should make everybody better, kind of iron sharpening iron a little bit in that respect.
For sure, yeah. So I think when Coach Spears makes our schedule every year, he definitely puts in those games that will prepare us for February and March, which are crucial, I think, because, we're constantly getting better during the season and not peaking at the wrong time. So just having those games where we're challenged and we're having we're fighting through adversity and things like that are really good for us because they prepare us for the games that matter in March and in February.
Yeah, I think everybody's super excited about it, no question. And then my final question for you, because again, I know the relationship you've built over the years, but talk about your relationship with this coaching staff at Huntsville. It's one that's been together a long time. Pete Miller moving on to become the head coach at Mae Jemison, but still, Caleb Brown's been around. You've had Coach Jeffers there now. This will be his 4th year. He's done an outstanding job. Tyron Gibson Shields, but just talk about the special staff and the relationship that you and your teammates have with these guys.
Ever since I was a freshman, those coaching staff and my teammates have embraced me, and they took me in, and Coach Swears and his staff have done a really good job building an amazing culture at Huntsville High, one where people are, they see Huntsville and they're constantly thinking about them. Coach Swears has done a great job in challenging every one of his players to get better and maxed out. He pushes us daily, and all the coaches definitely have our best interest at heart. And that's something that I'm really lucky to have. Very grateful for an awesome coaching staff and program to be able to play in, for sure.
Well, Eli, we congratulate you on your career thus far. We want you to have a great senior season. Congrats on the decision to attend Lee University and become a Lee Flame. I think it's an awesome fit for you and your family. And again, continued success on and off the court, man. And it's been an honor to watch you grow. And we certainly think the best is yet to come. But thank you for joining us, and good luck on Thursday, and go Big Red. Thank you for the time.
Thank you. Thank you all for having me.
Thanks. Eli Stapler, kind enough to spend some time with us again. Huntsville High basketball, high school basketball, will be tipping off in just over 24 hours across the state, and it's a great time. High school football playoffs going on. You've got the volleyball tournament just wrapped up last week, state volleyball champions. I know cheerleading is getting ready to get into the state championships series as well. So it's a great time on the high school level. High school cross country.
Yeah.
Are you
hinting at something
I'm
there, Scott?
Hinting at something.
You're foreshadowing something?
I am. And I tell you what, let's get a break in, because in the business, it's called a tease, and we've done it well. So let's get a break in, because when we come back, we will fill you in on what we're talking about.
You're listening to Talkin' Ball on 97.7 ESPN, The Zone.
Huntsville Fire and Rescue headed for the technology building on the UAH campus. They got a smell of gas they're checking on there. Got 31 in Ingleside and Athens still working. And we got 20 and I-65. I think it's going to be west of I-65 on 20. Looks like it may be affecting westbound traffic, apparently, and no injury. Expert Heart Care backed by advanced technology. When you need cardiac care, you need the heart doctor. Dr. Randall Burns and the team at Huntsville Heart Specialists on Bob Wallace Avenue. Captain Nick in the Valley Skywatch Traffic Center.
Specializing in simple and affordable rentals, McCurry Van and Car Rental can make sure you have just the right vehicle for your next family vacation, weekend getaway, or if you just need transportation while your vehicle is being repaired. McCurry carries Ford Transit vans and Mercedes Sprinter vans, trucks and work vans, and more. And they offer discounted rental rates for long-term rentals. Now with 4 locations: Athens, Muscle Shoals, Coleman, and Huntsville. Log on McCurryRentals.com to make your reservation now. That's McCurryRentals.com. If you work in a dangerous or logistically intense industry, you know good training can be a challenge. There are training costs, safety concerns, and difficulty replicating real-world scenarios. There's a better way used right now in the Army and in all our armed services to better prepare our heroes, and it's available to you in your organizations. Higher Echelon's Game Development Team is revolutionizing learning in military training, dangerous industries, STEM, and sports performance domains with cutting-edge virtual training that immerses you in lifelike scenarios without the cost and safety concerns for trainees. With Higher Echelon's game-based training, you'll experience realistic simulations, precision accuracy, and unparalleled safety. Higher Echelon founder Dr. Joe Ross is retired Army who played and later coached for the cadets and puts that experience to use. His team has been building cutting-edge virtual training environments for soldiers and clients for a decade. Higher Echelon, the name you can trust for advanced training solutions. Reach out at higherechelon.com to get your free consultation. Go higher and go Army.
At Mr. Sparky, we're America's on-time electrician. Flickering lights and hot switches can be annoying, but they can also signal a major problem, or worse, an electrical emergency. So play it safe and leave it to the experts at Mr. Sparky. Trust our team of professional, clean, and friendly electricians. We'll get it done right and get it done safely.
You don't have to put up with any malarkey. Call 888-8-SPARKY.
Independently owned and operated, licensed in the respective state or county.
Listen to the Bama Recap Show, presented by Lawler's Barbecue.
The tackle, Williams, 2 catches, 2 touchdowns, 2 electric early
on 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
All right, welcome back. Talking Ball, 97.7 ESPN The Zone. Scott Tyson, Drew DeArmond. We mentioned state championships coming up. And coming up here in just a little bit, we will have a Team of the Week presentation for you. Give us about 9 more minutes, and we'll fill you in on everything you need to know on this Team of the Week. But the college football playoff rankings came out yesterday. And, I saw this column, and it was too good to not pass up. And it was too good not to mention. And it was by Dan Wetzel.
Oh, here we go. I mean, but he's better than the other idiot for USA Today. I mean,
Dan Wetzel.
Woken probably didn't even get up this morning because he's probably got his head in the toilet because of the election.
It's called Why a Weekly College Football Playoff Ranking Show is Dumb.
I mean, it was dumb, kind of.
That's what it was.
As far as like, I mean, I don't know. You can look ahead.
Yes, this is what he
says.
Had
it this week.
This is what he says.
Yeah,
it's just a publicity stunt and a ratings grab. It holds no other value. It's not like college football lacks for media and fan attention, let alone debate on who's getting into the playoffs. He says the real damage that'll continue to be done by having fans question and condemn various committee decisions over the next months plus isn't worth it. He says ranking 25 teams each week may seem like a quick and fun task, but if you really dial in, it isn't. He goes, this is a vast sport, 134 teams playing a disparate schedule that produce limited common data. He says, this is a challenge after 13 games. He goes, the committee did it last night with just 61.5% of the information.
I mean, you could say that. You could say maybe they shouldn't have the first ranking even until mid-November or whatever, or even late November. You could do that a week before the championship games. But again, he just answered his own question, though. They do it for a ratings grab and to create conversation, and for people like us to be able to talk about it, even though, doing it during a presidential election, I think was a little bit whack. Like, why didn't you do it on a Wednesday? Hell, do it the day after when you're kicking people out.
He says the show does nothing to help anyone except maybe give a slight bump to ESPN on a Tuesday night.
Yeah.
Because we've got 5 more of these, or we've got 4 more or 5 more or whatever. Just rankings. They're not brackets. They're not the only time we will see a bracket is December 8th. That is the only time we will see a bracket. This is just purely rankings. And that leads us into, we haven't done it yet, but we're going to do it at least one time. We got to do it. The Colley Matrix 2024 rankings. Of course, our good friend Wes Colley, who is over at UAH, his Colley Matrix poll was a part of the BCS era poll, and he still puts it out on a weekly basis. Well, we've not touched on it because there's really no need, but why not with the first rankings of the college football playoff poll? Why not put Wes Colley's poll out there? Number 1 is Oregon. Okay, there's no change there. Number 2 in the Wes Colley Matrix poll, Miami. Number 3 is Ohio State. Number 4 is BYU. And number 5 is Indiana. Alabama is number 9.
Well,
you ready for this one?
I can't wait. Go ahead.
Georgia is number 10.
Well, Alabama did beat Georgia, but I mean, they've only got 1 loss, and Alabama has 2. So to me, that doesn't really fly, if you know what I'm saying.
SMU, he's got SMU 7, Texas 6.
Yeah.
Notre Dame's 11, Boise State is 12, Iowa State 13, Texas A&M is 17, LSU is 19, Ole Miss is number 20.
Yeah.
So there you go. That's what Wes Colley has. Vanderbilt, by the way, is 39th in the Wes Colley Matrix poll.
Wow.
Just ahead of Georgia Southern and Marshall.
Good Lord. Well, does he have Georgia State ahead of him, even though Georgia State's probably got a losing record?
He does not have Georgia State ahead of them.
Yeah, I don't know.
I'm trying to scroll down to see where Jacksonville State, by the way, would check in at number 80. So there you go.
Well, they're red hot, though.
Are they? They are. They are. They got a big one coming up.
And they whipped Liberty last week.
They're off this week, by the way. So that's why we're not mentioning, because they usually would play on a Wednesday, but they are off. So I thought we'd get a kick out of the Wes Colley Matrix Bowl. There's not really any kind of shockers. Normally he has one in there that you're kind of like, huh? But there's really not one in there this year. I mean, the only thing is he's got Alabama ahead of Georgia and Notre Dame in there at number 11. But in the old system, he would have Oregon and Miami playing in the national championship game if this was the BCS era. All right, 256-576-4977. If you want to join the program now, you do have a minute or so if you want to get in on the show. Texas A&M did announce that Le'Veon Moss is going to be out. And it looks like he's going to be out for the rest of the season.
Yeah, you kind of feeling it was probably going to be a knee situation when he went out last week, and it's sad because he was having a breakout season, and now they've lost Reuben Owens and him, so that was their top 2 backs going into the year. Shows what kind of depth you got to build, and it's really hard to do in the transfer portal era and the NIL with people moving around. But again, that's a huge loss, literally and figuratively, for Texas A&M.
All right, again, 256-576-4977. You got a minute to get in on the program if you want to. Now is the time to do so. So let's do that. Let's go out to the phone lines. Wolverine Dan is with us. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Dan.
Good morning, gentlemen. Yeah, I'm with you guys laughing about who's ranked and where they're ranked. I don't know, Georgia and Alabama. Come on, they can't be that. They got to be higher than that. But you know what? It's all going to play out in the wash. Hopefully we have something to say about it with Indiana. But I don't know. I don't think we can win that game. I think we're just depleted. We're not that good right now. But a team that is good picked up a really good player yesterday from Cleveland Browns.
Yeah, we let off the show with that. Yep.
Not a bad deal. I think that's a good pickup. And we only had to give up a 5th-round draft choice. What do you guys think?
Well, I mean, it was going to be a lot cheaper than Myles Garrett, his teammate. I mean, but I think we all knew that with Aiden Hutchinson being out, that Detroit they're in it to win it. I mean, and of course they wanted Aiden with them, but they've got a good enough football team where certainly they can still win a Super Bowl, and that's what they're trying to do. And so you knew they would try to replace his production in some form or fashion. And they got a guy we mentioned on the show as well that he's still under contract through next year as well. So it's not just being good for the rest of this season, but when you get Aiden Hutchinson back, it's almost like a bookend deal, and Detroit should be even better.
Well, here's the question I have, and being that you guys are very knowledgeable when it comes to any kind of sport, but especially football. Now that we have Sedarian Smith, and now let's say we get to the Super Bowl. Hopefully, does Hutchinson come out and play? He won't be in game day shape, but even a 70% Hutchinson is better than most defensive ends in the league. But he'll be probably restricted to maybe a couple plays here and there. Do you play him at a risk, depending on how healthy he is, or do you wait and save him next year?
That's tough because he's got such a lot. He's still so early in his career, and he's got such a bright future. We've only seen really the only other situation I can compare it to is T.O. When he came back from his leg injury and he trained like a maniac.
Yeah.
And he came back and he played so well in the Super Bowl, and they lost the game, but he put on a show. Perhaps Aiden Hutchinson can do a Willis Reed type situation, but I would think everything would have to line up perfectly just because, again, it's not just because and Dan, you're going to love me hearing me say this, but it's not trying to win one Super Bowl or have one great year. It's about, being a contender for a long time, and Aiden Hutchinson will be a huge part of that.
Well, that's what my son brought up. He says, this pick and only giving up a 4th rounder, which they wanted, Cleveland wanted, giving up a 5th rounder. Cleveland wanted our 4th, but we didn't settle for that. So I thought we got the better of the deal there. But I agree with you. I think this general manager that we have is definitely trying to position this team for not just a one and done. I think he's trying to get this team to play consistently for many years to come.
Yeah, and see, we had seen one proposed trade where they were going to give up Jahmyr Gibbs, and I was like, absolutely not. You cannot do that. I mean, I know Montgomery's good, but no, you can't give up.
No. In my closing, don't give up any North Alabama. Don't give up North Alabama on that team. Keep them all on that team. I love this North Alabama team as far as I'm concerned.
Thank you, Dan.
Thanks, Dan.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, and I get it. Playing in a Super Bowl would be a once-in-a-lifetime thing. And if the Lions get there, I mean, you want to be a part of it. You want to play. But at the same time, too, this is the NFL. And this is your job, and you have a future to look out for down the road. Is it worth playing in that one game if you are 80% healthy, 70% healthy, maybe just 60 coming off an injury that bad and trying to play in the game? Or is it the long-term future that you look at? It's a business in the NFL.
It is.
Sometimes you have to make a tough business decision.
And it would be a tough one because if Detroit gets to that point, they've never been to a Super Bowl.
It would be very tough.
So, yeah.
All right, I know this one's not a tough one. We got to get a break in. That's an easy decision. When we come back, another easy decision is handing out $500 for a team of the week. We've opened up the checkbook. We're going to hand out $1,000 this week. Who's first?
You're listening to Talkin' Ball on 97.7 ESPN, The Zone.
From the Fox 54 Weather Center, I'm Chief Meteorologist Jordan Dressman. Partly sunny to mostly cloudy sky this afternoon. Temperatures have no problem climbing into the lower 80s. A couple of isolated showers are going to be possible across the Tennessee Valley, but there are going to be significant periods of dry time, and some of us could stay dry through the entirety of the afternoon, even as we head into the evening. Speaking of the evening, we only drop into the mid-upper 60s as we head into the overnight, early into your Thursday morning. Much the same Thursday afternoon, partly sunny to mostly cloudy sky. Temperatures climbing into the mid and upper 70s. I'm Chief Meteorologist Jordan Dressman on your home for ESPN Radio, 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
It's looking like we've got a clean slate now. They've cleared everything off the board accident-wise. We're still dealing with a heavy traffic load. We got a lot of folks that are running a little late this morning because of the wrecks we had. So if you're missing somebody from your office, they should be there very shortly. Snelling needs an experienced way station operator. The position is a direct hire. Huntsville.snelling.com. Captain Eck in the Valley Skywatch Traffic Center.
Rich Eisen here from Monday Night Football on Westwood One. Join us all season long as we get you ready for primetime NFL action every Monday night. Along with Kevin Harlan, Hall of Fame quarterback Kurt Warner, and the entire Westwood One team will take you inside the locker rooms and the stadiums for exclusive previews and all the play-by-play action. Every week on Monday Night Football.
Right here on 97.7 ESPN, The Zone.
Ann Adams with Berkshire Hathaway Rise Real Estate is the one name to know if you're buying or selling real estate. With years of local experience, Ann Adams offers buyers in-depth knowledge of the local housing market and will narrow available properties down to those you'll be interested in so you can save time when shopping for your new home. If you're ready to sell, Ann offers a seamless process using accurate pricing and expert negotiation skills to make sure you get a fair price for your home. Call Ann Adams today at 256-337-2625 or log on bhhsriserealestate.com.
Tom Luganville here from my friends at Woody Anderson Ford. Bobby White and his team take great pride in their service department, and you can see it the moment you walk into those beautiful new service lanes. And just like a championship team, they all work together to make sure your experience is second to none, whether you drive a Ford or not. Also, check out the gold certified pre-owned inventory at Woody Anderson Ford for great deals every day. Stop by and see them at Jordan and Sparkman or at Woody Anderson of Madison on Hughes Road, or visit WoodyAndersonFord.com.
Yeah. When that song comes on, that means we are doing not one, but two Bryant Bank Team of the Week presentations. That means the second one is not a football team. That's right. Bryant Bank gives us carte blanche to open up the checkbook if we see fit to reward teams from around the area with our Team of the Week honors. And if you go out and you dominate, not one team, but two teams dominate sectionals on the cross-country trail, we're coming your way.
And you've won multiple state championships. You're arguably the most dominant athletic program on a campus with a basketball program of the caliber of Christian Swears. But this program, both the ladies and the guys, both have been dominating programs under the leadership of Blake Borden, and that's, of course, Huntsville High Cross Country. We've honored them before, but their consistency is just astonishing what they've been able to accomplish. Scott is referring to their sectional performance this past in the last several days, where they just dominated on both sides. And because of that, they will be our Bryant Bank Team of the Week. We will be donating $500 to the Huntsville High Cross Country program. And on his day off, at least from teaching, they're still going to be grinding and practicing later this afternoon.
Yes, got to get the runs in.
Yeah, but and he's a new father as well, so congratulations to him. But Blake Borden has now joined us on the Neighbors Wealth Management Hotline. Coach, good morning. How are you?
Good morning. I'm good. How are you guys?
We're doing well, man.
Good.
I mean, I know the trophy case, you guys are probably going to have to get Bryant Bank to donate even more money and build a new one. I mean, you're probably running out of room. It's certainly humongous what you guys have accomplished, but the consistency and performance, a very special group of seniors, especially on the boys' side. But congratulations on just more success and continuing to build on this tradition that you've built at Huntsville High, Coach.
Thank you. I really do appreciate it. Couldn't be more happy to be honored as a team of the week. I know it's a big deal, and we are very thankful.
Well, just take us through the season. I mean, you guys have ran in some big meets. I mean, you guys even hosted. I mean, you hosted the Southern Showcase.
We've talked
there.
about that. We've had you on to preview how massive that's become
earlier in the year. But just take us through the season a little bit.
Yeah, so it's been really fun. Like you said, we got a great group of seniors. Just a lot of depth on both sides. I mean, girls have some freshmen that have come into the rotation at the varsity level and added some talent that, honestly, we weren't really planning for to go into the season. But Southern Showcase was kind of the kickoff, for both varsity squads. The boys finished runner-up there. The only team that they lost to was the Bell and Jesuit boys from Miami. So that was an incredibly deep field. The girls finished 8th overall, and that was the best that they had ever finished because that girls' field this year was stacked. I mean, we had teams from 12 states. So they did really well there, too. And then our next big meet that we went to was up in Cary, North Carolina, a course called Wake Med. It's where the ACC championships were run just a couple of days ago. But it's a big meet called Great American. It's basically like a Southeast regional preview. The boys finished 7th. Girls finished top 15. So, we're basically trying to go and find really solid competition the first half of the year, and then we come back into the local series, local meets. And we ran at Decatur at a meet called Do It on the Trails, and the boys actually ran, to my knowledge, I've tried to do as much research on this as possible, but I feel like the boys ran the fastest 1 through 5 average in the history of Alabama cross country. They averaged 15:26, 1 through 5 for 5K, and the girls averaged sub 19. We had 4 girls break 19 in the same race there as well. So great day. And then this past Thursday, sectionals that you just referenced, the girls actually had the low score. They scored 21, and 15 is perfect. So we went 2, 3, 4, 5, 7 on the girls' side and had 7 girls in the top 13. We had 7 boys in the top 13 overall. That's 8 teams, entering roughly 10 people. And it was just a great meet. We were the host for sectionals too, but the kids did a really, really good job, and I'm super proud. Headed to state confident. That's this weekend.
No doubt. And for the listeners, kind of educate them on the state tournament and how that's going to unfold for you guys, where of course it will be held, and how the process and going about trying to win it on both sides, both the boys' side and the ladies' side.
So it's over at Oakville. It's just right outside of Moulton. So that's actually where I'm from and where I grew up. So that course is pretty close and near and dear to us. Coach Johnson still coaching at Lawrence County, hosting the state meet, and he was my coach. So it's a cool thing to be able to go back and do, coach in Huntsville. And there's such special meets that happen there between Chickasaw and Jesse Owens State. But more or less, you have 4 sections in 7A. So the top 4 teams from each section move on, which means that you have 16 teams at state all running just on that day. You got to have your best day, no matter what you've done throughout the season, to win or, bring home a trophy. The girls will be our first race. They run at 11:10. It's about halfway through the meet. Probably I'd say that there's 4 teams that had really kind of stood out. Auburn's girls have won like 5 of the last 6 7A state championships. So they're super, super strong. They were the favorites going into the year. Hoover has come on really strong this year, and they're looking good. And then Vestavia Hills as well, and it's us. So I think, whichever team has the best race that day on the girls' side could come home with the blue map. If you're just a little bit off, you could drop all the way down to a 4th or 5th place finish. It's really competitive and tight up front.
Yeah, let's start on the guys' side for you, Coach. Who's going to have to? I mean, Eric Moore had a great performance in the Southern Showcase. Obviously, James Clemens, Luke Alverson has ran well all year. How do you approach this guy's race? I mean, who do you need to step up in this field for you this weekend to have a shot at winning a state title?
It always comes down to the fourth and fifth runners, year after year, because you score 5, and we've had a really, really strong top 3 the last 2 years, and we finished runner up. Our 4s and 5s just have been a little bit off for various reasons. The years that we won it, our 4, 5, and even 6 runners were typically ahead of everybody else's 3. They were always really, really strong and packed up. We've got 2 seniors that are kind of running in that 4-5 mix, Owen Otto and Luke Chaperon, that have really had good years this year. They've set new PRs. They're both sub-16 guys. Luke is already committed to Lee University, and he's just gotten better and better over the course of his career. So those 2 guys, I'm looking forward to seeing them have a great senior state meet. And we got some juniors. Ben Casperson's also another sub-16 guy. He's been running as our 4, 5, or 6. It's great to have options at that spot on the team. And our top 3, you mentioned Eric. Eric's just phenomenal. I mean, he and Luke have kind of split races. Luke won Southern Showcase, and then Eric beat Luke at Do It. And right now, Luke's run 14:35 and Eric's run 14:41. That's like the second fastest and 4th fastest time in state history, and they just happen to be doing it the same year. And then they basically just like tied at sectionals the other day. They ran in neck and neck right at the same time. So it's gonna be interesting to see what happens at state. There's another kid from Oak Mountain, John Shoemaker, that's really strong. And then we've got 2 behind Eric, Charles Pearson and Jack Gruber, that have been all-state before. Charles has actually been all-state twice already as a 9th and 10th grader, so he's looking for 3 in a row there. Both are capable of being top 5 overall at state. So got a good group. We're ready. It's been a fun season, so I'm excited.
I can only imagine. And I know you said you had some unexpected additions, and you were talking about the ladies squad, but for us and our listeners, you've grown this program to such an astounding level. The standard is so high to be heavily in the mix each year, both with the men and the women for state championships. But how do you grow it from the grassroots and how do you of course it's an individual sport, but a team sport as well, when young runners are developing, and how do you become aware of them in the programs? Are you very well connected to the junior high program as well as they're coming up before they get to you at Huntsville High?
Absolutely. I mean, it's definitely a development over time situation.
Yeah.
Our team, the year before I started, the boys did not qualify for state. They finished outside of the qualifiers at sectionals. My first year, we actually won sectionals, so we flipped that around really quickly. And then my second year, we were runner-up at state. And so since then, it's definitely get involved with the middle schools. I mean, the cool thing about our program is we have 7th through 12th grade all with us in cross-country season. So we have Hampton Cove middle school kids, and we have Huntsville junior high school kids that are part of our program, all running under, Huntsville High umbrella. So they get to know the high school coaches. They get to know our system, the process that we have in place. But I think the most important thing is them getting to see the upperclassmen who have come before them and, see what's going on at that high level. It kind of teaches them the culture and the expectations. And, since that 2016-17 type of time frame, it's just been handed down, like we want to leave it better than we found it, type of mentality. And that's the coolest thing. A lot of it's a well-oiled machine at this point. I've had over 125 kids on the team the last 4 or 5 years, but, you'd be surprised. You come and you watch how practice operates. If you have good leaders within the team, then, the coaches aren't having to herd cats and, manage a bunch of running around and what would become tough with those numbers. Because typically we don't have a whole lot of coaches. It's
right.
1, 2, 3, maybe 4 coaches. Just it's a 2:30 practice time, so you can't really get a whole lot of people out there at that time. They're at work. But I'm very proud of what the program has become, especially on both sides, with the teams being close, boys and girls. And the girls have won sectionals for 12 years in a row, and we didn't really talk about that this year because their goal is state. But that's an incredible accomplishment. The boys have won 7 out of 8. So over the last, 20 sectionals, we've won 19 out of 20, if you want to look at it that way, I guess.
Wow.
So, a lot of times sports, I played ball sports all my life growing up.
Yeah.
A lot of the whole potential and early talent in those sports can kind of skew things, I think, with ours. You never know. I mean, you tell a kid, you really, really never know. You got to start from somewhere. You might be the 15th kid in your class in 7th and 8th grade, and then by the time you're a junior or senior, you could be 3 or 4, and you're scoring, at a state championship meet. So, sky's the limit. You just got to believe.
Blake Borden, kind enough to join us, Huntsville High cross-country head coach and coach. I mean, this weekend. Obviously, we know how football gets ready for a state meet, but what do you guys do this week? How do you treat this week of practice?
We really don't do a lot of different things than the several weeks leading up. It's very much a routine by this point. You have a certain type of run that you do each day. Open the week up pretty easy, and then you kind of build to Wednesday. Today's going to be our primary workout, what I like to call a tune-up for the race on Saturday. And you just lock that in. We try to lock that in kind of early on in October. Have 3 phases. You got the summer training block, you got the August and September early phase block, and then you got the championship block. And we try to lock that routine in, like I said, early October, and just keep honing it as we get through November, and just keep everybody's spirits high, keep them confident. A lot of times by this point of the season, everybody's got a lot more energy, and they're bouncing around, and they're super lighthearted because the volume of training has come down a little bit. The intensity maybe not quite as high as it was a little early when they're trying to really build fitness. So you got to keep them patient. They potentially get carried away a little bit if they, don't hold back. You want them to hold back a little bit to save it for, the big day. So it's a good sign if I'm at practice and I'm seeing a lot of energy and bouncing around and whatnot at this phase.
Well, Coach, I've got to ask you, man, just a little over 7 weeks ago, you became a father. Your daughter, Ren, how's it been, you and Lauren, becoming parents, man? It's got to be an awesome feeling.
It was, yep. It was a miracle, a blessing that we've really looked forward to for, a long time. So we're really happy. Obviously things have changed day to day. Took some time off there right when she was born. So,
oh, yeah.
She was actually born the week of Southern Showcase.
Wow.
So I had to do a lot of delegation, and that's not a high level skill that I had coming into all this world of meet management, coaching and stuff. But got some great people around us in our team community, and they did a fantastic job. Got some good assistant coaches that were really helpful and willing to step in. But she's been a little firecracker. She's already got a lot of personality. And we're just kind of day by day learning how to become parents and supporting each other. And got to give a big shout out to her. Like Lauren has just really stepped up and done a fantastic job, and not really complained about me trying to do as much as I can with the coaching. I mean, I've obviously done less and tried to manage that the best that I can, but she knows that it's important. So her mom and my mom have been helping out a ton as well, and it's been fun. Sleep has taken a whole new definition of what it used to be, but nothing could make us happier than what we've got going on right now. We're soaking it all up.
Well, no doubt. And certainly Huntsville High cross country, both the ladies and the men's continuing to dominate in the sectionals, and look forward to what you guys can hopefully bring home a blue trophy from, as you said, from your old stomping grounds as you go to state next week. But congratulations, Coach. And once again, we wouldn't be here without our friends at Bryant Bank.
Yep.
Yeah, thanks to Bryant Bank, thanks to ESPN 97.7 The Zone. We really do appreciate the highlight. And cross-country kids don't always get that, so I really, really appreciate it. I know they love it too. So,
well, thanks, Coach, so much for the time. Best of luck this weekend.
Yes,
Safe travels as well.
Yep.
Thank you. We'll do our best.
All right, we'll see you later this afternoon. Milton Frank. All right, thanks. We're not going to bring the running shoes. We will walk out there. We will present the check, and then we will walk off.
Yeah, I can't run.
I didn't think so.
No.
We got to get a break in.
I can speed walk.
Can you?
Yeah.
Can you speed walk?
I can.
You're listening to Talkin' Ball on 97.7 ESPN, The Zone.
Looks like we're going to wrap things up in good shape. I don't see anything new accident-wise. Everything from earlier should be out of the way now. We've got a lot of folks running late this morning because of the earlier accidents. If you're missing somebody, they should be there shortly. No hose, no mask. You can ask Dr. Sandman, that's Dr. Sandlin, for the medically proven benefits of the Somnodent for sleep apnea and for snoring. Dr. Sandlin, 350-CARE. Captain Eck in the Valley Skywatch Traffic Center.
By now, you know about Eagle Masonry and Insulation, and maybe you know that Eagle also does landscaping and dirt work. But how about after paint work? Shower doors, shelving, and mirrors, all taken care of by Eagle, the same Eagle that takes care of all your masonry, insulation, and landscaping needs. Eagle brings the same level of expertise to all these disciplines, and they're ready to provide you with a free quote. The website is the same, insulatewitheagle.com, as is the phone number, 256-755-1556. Give them a call and see what Eagle can do for you. Eagle saves you time. Eagle saves you money.
It's time for tomorrow's headlines today with Scott Tyson and Drew DeArmond on 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
Time does keep on slipping into the future. Talking Ball 97.7 ESPN The Zone. Short time left here in the program this morning. Very short time left.
It's been a great show, no doubt about it. Grady the Greek. He started us off.
Show.
You know, he was very chipper today. Sounded confident. Hopefully he's right. He picked Alabama 27-23 in Red Stick, with Jalen Milroe being the MVP. So good job out of Grady. Good pick there. And you know, he said he was not surprised. It was about what he thought college football playoff rankings wise. We asked him about that because we had the first poll last night with Alabama ranking 11th. So
yeah, rankings.
Solid,
that's the key. Rankings.
Solid position right there for the tie.
We're done with 2 hours. I mean, shoot, we had John Summerall on, Eli Stapler.
Speaking of energy, and Eli Stapler was great.
John Summerall at 7:30 in the morning, he was ready to go.
Yeah, I could tell.
Because remember, all babies are born soft. If you take anything away from today, just take the fact that all babies are born soft.
And we ended it with Coach Blake Borden, and he just had a baby. So
yes.
That's a perfect segue.
Yes. Their lungs aren't soft. All right. We'll be back at it tomorrow.
You don't have to go somewhere else just so you can go somewhere new. Plan your next vacation with Huntsville International Airport and Breeze Airways. Enjoy friendly, convenient